surprisingly comfortable. So even though it's designed to look like it's seating for one, it does accommodate a second rider, and it has the secondary foot pegs as well that fold up. Okay, it seems like there's one more thing I'm forgetting. Whoa, 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 whoa. Watch it, buddy. Watch it. Jeez. Ooh, look at that Dodge Viper. Yeah. I love those cars. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of my new Motovlog. Oh, is that a Tesla? Nice. Alrighty. It is a nice, cool 81 degrees Fahrenheit today, which is around 27 degrees Celsius. As you can see, only a couple clouds in the sky, nice bright sunny day, which is an awesome and welcome sight considering we just had a huge storm for the past few days. Okay. So in this first episode, I wanted to introduce myself and my motorcycle. For those of you that don't know me from my other channel, I am known on the interwebs as Faerodyn, and my motorcycle is a 2017 KTM RC390. My other channel is Faerodyn Plays Games. This channel is Faerodyn Moto. So as you can probably figure out, my other channel is for gaming, and this channel is going to be for my motovlog. And in addition to motovlogging, I wanted to do some tutorial videos. I also wanted to do some motorcycle test rides and reviews for you so you guys can see, you know, firsthand what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like to be on a specific motorcycle if you're interested in it. Now that I've had my bike for a ride around 6 months, I've been able to really get a feel for it and come up with a list of some pros and some cons to this bike. Now, in my list of pros and cons, I'm only going to include the things that I've experienced and noticed. There are a lot of videos out there that have come up with, you know, pros and cons about this motorcycle, some complaints that seem to be, you know, pertaining to more than one person. But I'm not going to talk about those because, one, I don't want to talk about something of which I don't know anything about, and two, I don't want to continue to add fuel to the rumors. Especially if, you know, they were meant as a joke, or maybe, you know, just somebody, like one person experienced this flaw, and then all of a sudden everybody else started copying and pasting that complaint. One thing to keep in mind when you get a new motorcycle, especially if it has 0 miles on the odometer like mine did, treat it nice, break it in properly. If you treat it good, it'll run good. If you hop on it and you ride it like you stole it from the moment you drove it off the lot, chances are you're probably going to start having some issues after the first few thousand miles. Hopefully I'll be getting some maintenance tips and trick videos up on my channel soon, but if I don't have what you're looking for, or if I just don't have anything up yet, I would suggest heading over to Motorcyclist Magazine on YouTube. They've got a lot of good videos. There's a guy on their channel named Ari Henning. He actually has this exact kind of motorcycle, and he shows you how to do an oil change on it. And if you're interested in seeing some race footage, because I know that they did create a super sport subclass specifically for this motorcycle, there's another YouTuber by the name of Dr. Chocolate, I believe, and he's got a lot of good GoPro footage of him actually racing professionally on his KTM RC390, so be sure to check them out. You know, there's a lot of good motovlogists out there. There's a lot of people I follow, people that got me into motorcycling and all that stuff, even before I got a motorcycle. But I'll probably, you know, put together a little list in another video. So what I'll focus on for this video is just the pros and cons list of my motorcycle. Alright, so before I get started on the pros and cons list, let's get into where on the starter bike list the KTM RC390 sits. Essentially, The lowest of the starter bikes are the Honda CBR 300R, the Ninja 300, the Suzuki GSX 250R, and the Yamaha YZF R3. Now those are pretty much the go-to starter bikes that people seem to always gravitate towards. A, because of cost, they're pretty inexpensive to buy and to insure, and also because of safety. They're not, I wouldn't say underpowered, but they're definitely not overpowered, so you don't have to worry about being a rookie to motorcycle riding, hopping on those bikes and killing yourself. I mean, you have to really try to kill yourself with those motorcycles. Unless, of course, you live somewhere where motorists tend to, run over motorcyclists. But, barring that, again, due to beginner rider mistakes, rookie mistakes, specifically how you control and handle your motorcycle, I'd say it's pretty hard on those motorcycles to do something that's gonna, launch you off the motorcycle or get yourself hurt. Alrighty folks, I'm gonna have to cut this video short because I have to make a quick pit stop, but I will pick up where I left off after I handle some business. Alright, so see you on the flip side after I park right here, and I will catch you guys on the flip side in probably like 2 seconds. Okay, now that I handled that, let's see here. I left off talking about the 4 really starter bikes, I think, and the KTM sits right above those. Oh really? Okay, that's cool. You can, almost take me and that pedestrian out at the same time, so you don't have to wait. I gotcha, it's cool. What was I just saying about living somewhere where motorists tend to run over motorcyclists? Yep, that right there is a prime example of how not thinking can actually really hurt somebody. But that's okay. Alright, anyways, yes, so the 4 starter bikes below the KTM RC390, both in horsepower output and price point, and then above the KTM RC390, you've got the new 400 and 500 classes, like the Honda CBR 500R and the new Kawasaki Ninja 400. Now those bikes do have just slightly more horsepower than the KTM RC390, which is a big deal on a motorcycle, but they also weigh considerably more because of their bigger engines. For example, the KTM RC390 only has a single-cylinder engine. Even the YZF R3 has a twin-cylinder engine. So that's a lot of extra weight. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Those are just some of your more stereotypical starter bike options. Okay, so now without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this pros and cons list that I talked about, this elusive list from a few minutes ago. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with the pros, and then I'll do the cons. And I want to start off first with the ergonomics. Okay, so right off the bat, if you sat on those other entry-level starter bikes like I talked about a second ago, the 300 class, 250 and 300 class, you'll notice right away that they tend to sit more upright. Even though they look like sport bikes, or they're called sport bikes, but they look like super sport bikes, whatever. Anyways, they look the part, but you don't really feel like you're on a super sport. It's like they didn't want to make the ride too aggressive for beginner riders because they understand, you're not used to holding yourself in that position. It's a bit unnatural, and so, you're already having a hard enough time getting used to, riding on a motorcycle out on the open road. The last thing they want to do is to make it a, pain in the ass as well. So they don't really give you that full, true, super sport experience. Whereas the KTM RC390 definitely gives you that. You feel like you're on a super sport from the moment you hop on. It feels very lightweight, very flickable, not as heavy as some of its bigger engine brothers. And I think part of the reason why it has such an aggressive stance, there's 2 main factors. One being the gas tank sits so low, the top of it. They did reduce how much fuel it holds compared to some of the other starter bikes, but because it sits lower, you're able to hunch further down over the bike. And then the seat height sits right at 32.9 inches off the ground. So it has you sitting up a little bit higher than the other starter bikes. So you definitely do not have a small bike feel getting on it. It feels just like a normal full-size, not scaled down bike. And then the gas tank, the top of the gas tank sitting lower than the rest would, helps to give you that more more horizontal feel. In addition to your overall seating position on the bike also comes from the factory with adjustable front brake and clutch levers, which is great for accommodating people of any hand size. Combine all that with some pretty sleek looking mirrors and easy to use controls, and you've got yourself a very good feeling bike that really gives the rider, especially a newer rider, a lot of confidence. Alright, next, the engine. The engine is a 373.8 cubic centimeter single cylinder liquid cooled engine. It puts out roughly 42 horsepower, which is the equivalent of 32 kilowatts, I think, at the rear wheel, and 25 foot-pounds of torque, which I think is right around 36 newton meters. My calculations may be a little bit off there, but I'm trying. I am trying. And so it does have a great power band and sound. I'm not sure how much of that sound is making it into the mic. Right now I've actually got two mics, one for my voice and then for the actual sound outside I'm using my camera's microphone, which I don't think is very good. But this is my first time using it, so it's going to be a learning experience for all of us. Okay, alright, next up, the brakes. The brakes on this bike are Vibri, which is an off-brand of Brembo, much like Brecco and Marchesini. The front brake comes standard with a 320mm rotor and 4-piston radial-mounted caliper, while out back we've got a 230mm rotor and 2-piston caliper. The brake system on this motorcycle also features stainless braided lines and ABS standard on both the front and rear brakes. Another cool thing to note about the braking system, there is a secret button on the dash that you can push to override the ABS system and shut it off if you want to do that for whatever reason. I too like to live dangerously. It's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum. I should just go into video game characters from here on out. Alright, here's the game plan. Dom, you and I are going straight in. Cole, Baird, you two flank right and provide support for Anya. Above all, you protect that resonator. You got it? Okay, I'm done. Anyways, as I was saying, where was I? Oh yeah, next up on my list of pros. Oh yeah, that's right. The rear seat, I probably should have mentioned this in the ergonomics, but the rear seat on this, it looks like a cowl. So it doesn't look like there's a seat there, but the whole thing is actually made of foam, and it's actually surprisingly comfortable. So even though it's designed to look like it's seating for one, it does accommodate a second rider, and it has the secondary foot pegs as well that fold up. Okay, it seems like there's one more thing I'm forgetting. Whoa. Watch it, buddy. Watch it. Jeez. Ooh, look at that Dodge Viper. Yeah. I love those cars. Next, the cast aluminum rear swing arm, which does a great job of reducing weight and looking absolutely awesome. So yeah. Okay, and finally, what I wanted to talk about on the pro list is illuminated controls. Now, this is really big, regardless of whether it's a starter bike or not, because even most higher-end bikes don't have this feature. So what they did was, wherever you see a symbol for your thumb controls, so for the starter, for the kill switch, for the horn, for the high beam, low beam, all these things have a little symbol on the control and then it also is illuminated. It's got a backlight, which is so cool for riding at night. I mean, it's just, once you ride your motorcycle enough, it's going to be second nature where your controls are. But for a beginner rider, that is such a cool thing to have on the motorcycle. For me, that was a huge selling point, and one of the biggest, well, not the biggest, but one of the bigger reasons why I went with this motorcycle. Okay, I think that about does it for the pros. Now for the cons. I'm going to just knock this one right out of the ballpark right away. Storage space. This, I know it's this sport or super sport, but it has minimal storage space. I mean, they do you one solid by giving you a little starter toolkit for servicing your bike on the fly if you have some issues. Aside from that, about the only thing you can fit in there is your legal paperwork, like your registration, your insurance. You're definitely not going to be able to squeeze a little extra spare pouch of a little bottle or a little flask of oil or gasoline, petrol, whatever you use. You're not going to have any room for that. Now, that's okay because there are other remedies for that, but just be aware, as far as storage space goes, do not plan to bring a lunch and have a picnic. Next up on the cons list, no hazard flashers. Now, yes, I understand that it still has turn signals, but oftentimes you can give a little bit of extra information to motorists around you that you're having engine troubles, or maybe you got a flat tire, just to keep their eyes on you by putting on your hazards. This bike doesn't have that. The only thing you've got to communicate with other drivers besides using your hands, which you really can't do if you're struggling to keep in control of your bike or shifting, whatever, is to use your turn signals. So it's not like a make it or break it kind of thing. It's just one of those things where I'm like, gosh, it would have been nice with all the other effort they put into this bike if maybe they just would have had an option to have hazards. Alright, number 3 on my list of cons is heat. This bike has issues with heat. Now, granted, I live in Arizona. At least once every summer, we usually, at least for the past few years, we have been getting up to around 120 degrees Fahrenheit for at least one day. For those of you who don't know Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Fahrenheit is basically 48 degrees Celsius. So that is ridiculously hot. Now, not only is that uncomfortable for you, the rider, but also the bike doesn't like that kind of heat. So I find when I ride it on days that are that hot, the fan is constantly going, and it doesn't look on the gauge, on the thermostat, like the temperature goes down at all. It just pretty much stays right there, spiked up beyond halfway, which from what I hear is not good for the engine. So if you live in a hot climate like me, or if you just plan to be riding this thing in the city like 30 to 40 miles an hour, slower than freeway speed, I would suggest the first modification you make to this bike not be performance, but actually invest in a nice cooler fan that you can put on the back of the radiator to upgrade the stock one. Alright, to round out the end of my cons list, I would like to include the positioning of the kickstand. It's just in an odd place. I had to learn the hard way because I wear a balaclava under my helmet to help filter out the air that it rides up sometimes, so I can't see straight down at my feet. I have to kind of open up my visor first, and it's just a hassle. So what I had to learn to do was just to kind of feel with my foot underneath the left foot peg. And as soon as I feel something, as soon as I slide it over and feel my shoe hit something, that's where the kickstand is, and I just lower it. So it's just a little quirk that I had to learn how to overcome on my own. And finally, my last complaint is basically just the gauge itself. They kept it really simple. It's really easy to read at night, but in the daytime, I find it's really hard for me to judge when to shift without using my ears. I prefer a sweeping analog tachometer that I can see, the needle moving back and forth on. And this has a sweeping sort of digital readout across the top, but it's darkened, and to me, it's just a little difficult to read. But one thing I probably should have mentioned earlier in the pros is it does have a gear indicator to show you what gear you're in, which is awesome. and it also has a neutral indicator light that comes on when you are for sure in neutral. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I might be missing, I might be leaving a few things off there, but I'm just gonna have to go with it because I'm starting to get tired and I want to go home. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video, for joining me in this my very first episode, my very first moto vlog ever. This is what I've been wanting to do for a long time, and so I am super stoked that I get to do this and have you guys you know, sort of enjoy the ride with me. I'm sure some of you probably don't have motorcycles yet and you're trying to figure out what you're gonna get or how you're gonna afford it. So that's exactly what I want to build my channel up for, is for people like you who maybe you're not sure. So hopefully here in the future I'll start getting lots of videos up, lots of motorcycle reviews and test rides and stuff like that, some first-hand footage for you to see. Yeah, again, thank you so much, guys, for visiting my page or my YouTube channel and for watching this video. I can't tell you in words how much I appreciate it. I truly appreciate each and every one of your views, guys. Please feel free to let me know how much you appreciated this video by giving me a like and subscribing to my channel. I sincerely appreciate it, and I look forward to making another video soon, hopefully. Alright, thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day. Ride safe.